Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you are in the world, and welcome to today's webinar. What's new? Microsoft Windows for IoT Roadmap and Products. Brought to you by Tech Online, Microsoft, Arrow, and broadcast by AspenCore. I'm Chris Keach, and I'll be your moderator today. We have just a few brief announcements before we begin. First, the slides will advance automatically throughout the event. You may also download a copy of the slides by clicking on the green folder icon located at the bottom of your screen. You can participate in our Q&A session by asking questions at any time during this webinar. Just type your question into the Q&A text area located to the right of the presentation window and then click the Submit button. Please note that we'll try to get to as many of your questions as we possibly can at the end of today's program. However, if we're unable to get to your individual question today, someone will get back to you after the program is over. Also at this time, we recommend that you disable your computer's pop-up blockers, and at the end of the webinar, we will ask you to complete our feedback form. Your feedback will provide us with valuable information on how we can improve future events. You can also launch the survey at any time by clicking on the red survey button at the bottom of your console. And if you're experiencing any technical problems, please type your issue into the Q&A text area, and we will be glad to offer one-on-one assistance. And now, on to the presentation. What's new? Microsoft Windows for IoT Roadmap and Products. Discussing today's topic is Ken Marlin, Supplier Alliance Manager, Americas at Arrow. Based in Phoenix, Arizona, Ken is a Supplier Alliance Manager for the Americas. Ken is a three-time Microsoft MVP on Windows IoT products and has over 35 years of experience in supporting all Microsoft products and channels. And joining Ken today is Tze Chiew, Supplier Alliance Manager, EMEA at Arrow. As the Supplier Alliance Manager for Arrow Intelligent Solutions, Tze manages the Microsoft IoT business in EMEA. He is based in the Netherlands and joined Arrow in 2019. It's with great pleasure I now turn this special session over to Ken to begin. Ken, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate everyone joining us today, taking time out of your work schedule here at the end of the year. Microsoft recently released 3 new products. We're going to cover the life cycle, the roadmaps. We're going to dive into those 3 products a little bit today. And Tze's going to join me. Instead of having sort of a scripted presentation, we kind of like to have an open discussion as we go through this. And although it looks like we're sitting in the same office today, we are on opposite sides of the globe. He covers EMEA, and of course I cover Americas, as Chris stated. And we both have been supporting this business for quite a long time. So it's kind of fun for us to interact and kind of talk about real world stuff as we go through this and get you guys caught up. You can see the agenda. We'll do, again, lifecycle products, and then we'll talk about why IoT, why you should use the IoT version, and how to get started. We'll jump into it. So with these 3 products that Microsoft launched, and starting from the right back in August, Microsoft launched the Server IoT 22 product, and then surprised the world with Windows 11 in October 5th. And then finally in November released the product that we kind of all had been waiting for. Tze, for your side, has your customers been excited about this? Have you seen people placing any orders yet? How's it been going over there?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, it feels like Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021 is the product that a lot of the OEM customers have been waiting for. And equally so with Windows 11 IoT, when that was launched, caught everyone off guard, more or less, and also raised a lot of questions about, which is actually the product to focus on now.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because that's the reason we kind of have done more than, in fact, this is a 2-part webinar. There's going to be a part 2, which we'll talk about later, another webinar next month. But we had a webinar last month, this month, and in January, and we're kind of doing that, but simply for the fact that there's just been a lot of questions and a lot of people are still confused. So it's a good idea for us to host these and get this information out when we can. So let's jump into the first poll question. I'll turn it back to Chris, and we'll get this poll question going.
All right, thank you, Ken. This is the first of 4 polling questions that we're going to have for you this afternoon. And to participate in our poll, just simply click on the radio button next to the answer that's appropriate for you, and then click the submit button, and we'll give you some time to be able to do that. Our first question here, of these 3 products, which are you considering? And here you can select all that apply. It could be Windows 11 IoT Enterprise, Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC 2021, Windows Server IoT 2022, or not considering these at this time, but will in the future. And we'll give you a few moments to go ahead and input your selections. Again, just click on the radio button next to the answer that's appropriate for you, and then we'll take a look at the results here momentarily. Also, if you'd like to ask a question, it's an ideal time to do so. You can click on the Q&A icon, type your question in, click the submit button, and we'll get to those at the end of the program during our Q&A session. So let's take a look now at our results. Looks like about 33% selected Windows 11 IoT Enterprise. About 62% said Windows 10 IoT Enterprise 2021. About 5% Windows Server IoT 2022. And about 24% said they weren't considering one at this time, but will in the future. So back to you, Ken.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, perfect. I mean, those are the results I was expecting. You know, Jay, what do you think? That looks about right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, exactly. It was not a question actually that Windows 10 would come on the top, but seeing 33%, yeah, considering Windows 11 already, it's still it's quite a high number, I would say, considering it's not the LTSC version.
That's true. That's true, and we'll definitely get into the fact that it's not an LTSC. You guys notice it doesn't have LTSC in the name there, so we'll talk about why that is and where you need to be cautious there. But certainly, yeah, I'm glad to see the people choosing that Windows 11. From what I'm seeing is a lot of people are starting to test the products, and so in our space, people want something reliable, something that's stable, something that's been around for a while. So it's exciting to get these new products after 3 years of not having anything new. So now that we have them, I think a lot of people are kind of like the bottom result. They're starting to consider it, starting to test, and that's probably the good idea, is to start testing these products today and start planning, a migration or a new project on them. Let's jump right into the lifecycle and roadmaps. We'll go back in time and sort of plant a foundation with the legacy Windows embedded products. So these are the products that didn't have the name IoT in the name. So a number of years back, Microsoft changed the name from Windows Embedded to Windows IoT. So all the new products today are IoT. But back in the day, they were all known as Windows Embedded. And from the red arrow line showing the current time frame, you can see we're almost able to finally retire all these older products. But that said, we still have a lot of customers that are still using these products, still extending the security. And so, what's your experience with these products? Are most of your customers moving on and ready to move on?
Yeah, absolutely. Starting with Win 10 2016 version, LTSC 2016 version, and then migrating to 2019. Actually, a lot of customers that were on XP or one version of Windows 7 or even 8 have already moved to Windows 10. There are still, I would say in EMEA, it's maybe 20% that are still on legacy, but with end of support already ending for the most of these products, I see that the migration is moving faster and faster, to be honest.
And we'll talk a little bit more about the extending the security once the end of security hits for these products. WES 7, right in the very middle of the roadmap there, was our #1 product for many years. We just almost all of our OEMs used that product, and that's why we still have a few of them that are extending the security and trying to migrate off of that product. And then just recently with the end of support for POS Ready, which is in the retail cash register digital signage space, that one is picked up a lot of questions recently. So if you're in that space as an OEM and you need help getting off of those products, you know, we're the folks to help you do that. So, and then not anybody really using the Windows 8. Honestly, I was going to look back and try to throw up a number of what we sold for Windows 8, but I don't think it's not very much. So we'll see that into support here in about a year and a half. So, all right, let's go to the LTSC roadmap. So the one thing I'll point out about this slide is I noticed at the top on the solid blue bar, it does say Windows 10 there, but this slide is specifically for the Enterprise LTSC. And you can see that at the bottom, we did add Windows 11 Enterprise LTSC. However, it doesn't exist yet. So there's not an LTSC version of Windows 11 yet. We don't have dates on it, but Microsoft does say it should be expected to be released in the next two to 3 years. And we just wanted to throw the dates out there. The product that everyone's been waiting on and just launched on November 16th is the Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC 2021 based on build 21H2. And like I said earlier, if you haven't started testing on that product, you definitely want to get with us, get the media, and start testing. Are you seeing a lot of people asking you for the media to test on that product, Jay?
Yeah, definitely. It's a recurring question, and maybe also good to stand still on LTSC maybe there are some people in the audience that are not aware about the acronym. LTSC stands for Long-Term Servicing Channel. I think we use it on a daily basis, so it's like second nature, right? But it is the channel, as you can see in this roadmap, of the Windows 10 and in the future Windows 11, where we have the 10 years of availability and also extended support. So definitely, one of the first questions for new OEMs, but also with larger enterprises, with a larger team, with new products coming out, they tend to forget where to get the media kits. So it's definitely one of the questions that pop up on a weekly basis, almost in EMEA.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think someone asked that question. I looked over there in the questions. So yeah, again, ask your questions. We'll try to glance at them. We'll definitely get to them at the end. But yeah, media, if you guys want to download this media now, you can get with us. It's MicrosoftOEM.com is the actual website, but you have to have an agreement. You have to register and get access to MicrosoftOEM.com. And then if you have issues with that, you can always get with us, and we can get you the real image so that you can test and a real key. I would say when I looked back at a sales report of how our customers are doing for all of these LTSC products, again, very long 10 years of support, 10 years of life. And we hardly have anybody running the 2015, which is great because that was the original version of Windows 10 that launched back in 2015. So most all of our customers have moved on. 2016, there's actually a lot of customers still running that. I would almost say as high as 40%. And so a lot of those customers are ready to migrate to this newer 2021 and probably skip over 19. And then at the same time, we have a ton of people on 2019. And so they may hold on and wait for the Windows 11 version because the 2019 is so solid. So in comparison, let's go ahead and jump forward and look at what used to be called the SAC or semi-annual channel. Now we just sort of call it the non-LTSC channel because Microsoft is now moving from a semi-annual release to a annual release. So we try to steer our customers away from the non-LTSC version simply for the fact that you don't get very, very much support or time to support the product, which is not what you want when you're trying to build an OEM appliance and have it around for quite a long time. So a lot of the earlier builds of Windows 10 Enterprise SAC or non-LTSC did drop off of this chart. So you can see I've actually updated this roadmap to start with build 1909 because all the other ones are no longer supported. So if you're running a build earlier than 1909, that's not the LTSC version, of course, the support has already ended for those guys. So you have to be running one of these, and you can see like build 2004's going to go into support yesterday. Actually, is that? I'm looking at the date. Like, oh yeah, that's yesterday. Yeah. I need to move the line over.
We
now.
need to move the current timeline. Yeah. But do you see many customers or any customers going for the non-LTSC version?
Yeah, in the recent report I ran, I actually had a higher percentage than I thought, but it was around 4%. So we basically had about 96% of our OEMs run LTSC, and about 4% run this version, the non-LTSC. And most of those are customers that are building some type of appliance that has to be on the latest and greatest. Like they have to be running the most current. And that's where the new Windows 11 IoT falls in, where they may want their product to be running the latest generation of product. And that's where right in the middle of the roadmap, it launched on October 5th there, the gray bar with October 5th. That's your Windows 11 IoT Enterprise. We use the term AC for annual channel, so it's no longer a semi-annual channel twice a year. It's now once a year, and so we'll see another build of that in about a year from now. And Windows 10 the same way. The Windows 10 IoT Enterprise, we could possibly see another build a year from now, but the Windows 10 products will retire in October 14th, 2025. So no LTSC version of Windows 11. You do have access to the non-LTSC version. Anything else come to your mind on this one? I think we kind of covered it pretty good.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm forgetting anything. All right, let's jump to server. So in our last webinar, we actually didn't really cover server, so we wanted to spend a little bit of time here on server. Certainly a lot fewer of our OEMs run server, but we want to make everyone aware that you do have access to the server family of products with your CLA agreement. And they do have very long life cycle. You can still buy Windows Server 2008 and 2008 R2. The end of support has already started on those products, of course. And then you have access to extending the security. But you can see that you could still get Server 2012 all the way until 2027 and Server 2016 all the way until 2031. So if you're building some type of appliance that would require server operating system and you want it to be around for many, many years and support for many years, the IoT embedded channel is the way to go. And then we launched the new Server IoT 2022. It launched in August. And certainly have a lot of customers interested in it, starting to test it, and we'll jump into those features in a little bit. But do you know how popular it is in your side of the world for server? It's it's not as popular as client, of course, on this side, but you sell a lot of it over there?
Yeah, no, it's the same over here. Obviously, client will always have a bigger number, and One interesting thing about server and server IoT, again, you can see here also for server IoT, you have the longevity support. And often the case, I stumble upon an OEM that has designed in the non-IoT version, and then because the shorter life cycle, they're trying to find a solution to extend their product, and then they come to us for the IoT version.
Yeah. You're exactly right. A lot of times customers will want to downgrade. They'll be like, I want to buy 2019 and downgrade to 2012. And I'll be like, well, why are you doing that? You can buy 2012, right? Yeah. And then that's where they go, oh, I didn't know it's still available. Yeah, it's still available. So there's no need in going through the painful process of downgrading, which is painful when you have to try to dig up an older key and deal with telephone activation. Yeah. And I did see a question that popped up. Someone asked a really good one about server. Does server have an EPKEA single key, which is your embedded product key entry activation? Single key like client, like Windows 10 and Windows 11. Does server have that? And that's a question we get that a lot. And it does not. So the EPKEA single key is not available. However, there is an option for what they call OEM activation, where you can bypass the activation, and it's only available in the server world through this channel. And so if that's something, you have to be doing more than 100 servers a year to qualify, and there's an application you fill out, And then you can get yourself a key and an encryption code that would go into the BIOS and your image, and you can actually bypass activation. So, it doesn't work for virtualization. So that's the other side that comes up. It's like, well, I'm going to do a lot of VMs. It does not work for virtualization. So, but if that's interested, get with us. We can give you more details on OA for server products. Anything else come to mind, Shay? That was I'm glad I saw that question and the downgrade thing you brought up.
Yeah, no, it's a good catch. No, we can let's go to the next topic. I see that we'll cover also the ESU dates. As you mentioned during the roadmap section. Yeah.
Yeah, a quick reminder on the ESU, because again, we're still selling extended security updates. So when security ends for products, Microsoft actually does allow OEMs to extend the security for 3 additional years, and all 3 of these products are available, or 4. All 4 of these products are available right now. You can see by the dates there. And if you are in a situation where you really need the security patches to stay compliant for different industry requirements or security requirements, you can get with us. We can walk you through that process of procuring those while you migrate to newer products. Poll question. We'll turn it over to Chris.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Our second polling question for you here. What challenges are preventing you from upgrading, if any? And here you can select all that apply. Again, click on the radio button next to the answer that's appropriate for you. And your answers here can be, cannot get newer hardware, time involved in testing and migrating our solution, not ready for these new features, current solution continues to work great, or none of the above apply. And again, just select the answer or answers that are appropriate for you here. You can click on as many as you'd like. We'll take a look at the results here shortly. And if you'd like to ask a question, again, click on the Q&A icon, type your question in, and then click the submit button, and we'll get to as many of those here during our Q&A session here coming up at the end of the program. So we'll give you just a few more moments to go ahead and input an answer, and then we'll take a look at what those results are. So let's go ahead now and take a look at our results. Looks like about 5% said cannot get newer hardware. About 42% said time involved in testing. 32% said not ready for these new features. Current solution continues to work great, came in about 42%. And none of the above apply, about 26%. So back to you, gentlemen.
Yeah, it seems about right. Honestly, all of these kind of go together. They're kind of all interweaving, right? So obviously, newer hardware you've got to test, newer features you've got to test, and of course, you typically already have your current solution working great. So, if you're in that situation, that's pretty normal. But the most important thing is obviously you want to start planning ahead. And not run into that situation where I do have customers that come up and they're surprised that a product is ending support, or surprised that a product is going end of life, right? So you definitely want to keep track of the roadmap, keep track of the dates, and obviously plan your testing and development out ahead of time. And obviously in today's world, we're starting to see an issue in getting newer hardware. So that comes into play a little bit. But, what's your take? It looks pretty normal, pretty average?
Yeah. Definitely, especially if the current solution is working great, right? Why fix something that's not broken? That's also I would say the core value of Windows IoT, that you can design in one version of the OS and then deploy as long as the OS is available. And I would say for the OEMs that are building fixed purpose devices, definitely don't change if it's not needed. And you can spend your resources on other things, and that's the greatest value, actually.
All right, let's keep it moving and jump right into the LTSC 2021 product, the Windows 10 LTSC 2021 product, and we're just going to hit the highlights on this product. And we've got a poll question that's in there. I wasn't aware of that one popping in there, but we'll ask it. So, Chris, another poll question.
All right, this is number 3 of 4 polling questions. We promised that we only have one more for you. This one says, would you have a consultation with one of our Microsoft experts? And it's a yes or no. And just go ahead and click on the radio button for the answer that's appropriate for you. We'll take a look at those results in a moment, and then we'll continue on with our discussion. And again, we'll give you just a moment here to go ahead and input answers. All right, let's take a look here at our results. And it looks like about 7.5% or so, roughly 8% said yes, and about 92% said no.
No problem at all. Yeah, and that's pretty common. A lot of these, I know a lot of customers that are on here. They work with us all the time anyway. So if anybody's new and they want us to, get with us and chat about this, obviously, you'll have an opportunity afterwards. So thank you for that. So jumping right into the Windows 10 LTSC 2021, what's new? The top 2 bullet points are not necessarily features, but they're what we want to point out to the fact that this is the last LTSC version. It is the most stable version of Windows 10. It will get you 10 more years of life and support on a very reliable and stable product as Microsoft moves into Windows 11. So if you want to, it's a perfect product to start testing and migrating to, and obviously locking into and taking care of your solution for many, many years from now. There is a migration from the older Internet Explorer to the Edge browser. That is certainly new with this product. And then we've got them in bold, but improved kiosk mode, dual application focus, soft real-time. We'll jump into each of these here in a second, and then we'll talk about the brand new Edge device image builder with OS footprint reduction, and then an improved write filter. And Tze, you and I will discuss these as we jump into them. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll start with the dual application focus, and this is a new feature for this product, but it isn't released yet. So if you notice on the right, its target availability is Q4. I think Microsoft was really, really trying to get this in the final product, but they didn't. So they are still working on it, and it is hopefully going to be available, very soon. We're already in Q4 2021, so
yep.
It should be coming out soon. I was going to check for an update on it before this, but I didn't get time to do that. So I have a feeling they'll work out the issues on this and get it working. Certainly, this is a popular feature for the retail space. So currently in retail space, cash registers and things like that, where you have a solution where you spin a screen around, or have you ever gone somewhere where they ask you to sign and they spin the screen around, or they might ask you a question. Can you answer this question? And this will help with that, because you can have dual screens, and both the employee and the customer can interact at the exact same time. And this was just something that the previous Windows products do not have. So Microsoft was trying to get it into this product. Any input here, Tze, on this one?
Yeah, exactly. So retail was one of the prime markets, I would say, where this kind of feature would be welcomed. I also had customers asking for this kind of feature before this release, so maybe last year or so, and they were asking, like, how can we solve this? Now you have it out of the box. But also healthcare is one of the markets where they position this kind of feature, where you have a healthcare worker screen or interface versus a patient interface, and probably there'll be more markets where this can be used. So I'm looking forward to see what our customers do with this new feature.
Absolutely. Let's move on to another huge feature that I know a number of customers have been waiting on. So the quick history with RealTime is the fact that the Windows CE products, which ironically are still available, I didn't put the CE products on the legacy roadmap. They kind of have their own little separate roadmap. But the Windows Compact Edition or CE editions did have RealTime. And so when Microsoft moved to Windows IoT Core and Windows IoT Enterprise, they lost the RealTime. So with this new 2021 product, they've added what they call soft RealTime, which is a timing aspect in a sense where you have to have the machine stay in sync and be able to track things that are very time sensitive. The bottom shows you the 200 millisecond, which is the soft real time. A hard real time is more around 50 microseconds, I should say. I get the millisecond, the microsecond. It's microseconds. 50 microseconds for the hard real time. The soft real time is a 200 microsecond loop cycle that it can control. And it's going to give you the ability to, I think what's really important to know is you can assign processor cores or dedicate processor cores to your application. So, and keep or prevent other applications or things in the OS from using those cores. And that gives your application, all of the bandwidth and power and timing that it needs to stay in sync.
Yeah.
Your customers interested in that?
While you mentioned CE here, it's also good to know that, for example, CE6 will be end of life early next year, February next year, and CE7 or WEC 7, the end of support is also already past that date. Right. So if you're on CE, the only options left would be WEC 2013. So we're running out of options when we talk about.
That's correct, and that's a good point. I mean, those products again had very long life cycle, very long support, and they've been around for many years. But customers are certainly running out of options, and so they definitely need to take a look at this soft real-time option in the 2021 Windows 10 product and see if it can meet their requirements. All right, the next one is the OS disk footprint as well as the new Edge device image builder. So WES 7, again, one of the most popular Windows Embedded Standard 7, most popular products we've had a toolkit. And it was a toolkit that cost like $1,000. You had to pay $1,000 to get the toolkit, but it allowed you to highly customize that Windows 7 image. And that kind of went away with the Windows 10 products, and we had a lot of OEMs that have been asking for something like that toolkit. So Microsoft has been working on what they call the Edge Device Image Builder, and it is a very similar sort of wizard-driven tool that allows you to highly customize your image and then build it and then deploy it. And it is right now in private preview, but if anyone is interested in joining that private preview, you can reach out to Tze or myself, and we can get you invited to that private preview where you can start playing with this tool. The tool also ties directly into the footprint issue. So the plan with this new 2021 was to bring the footprint down in smaller size footprint to save you disk space and allow you to spend less money on the hardware and the storage. And the 2019 product today has the ability to do some of that, but this product was going to take that to the next step, and they are still working on that. That's why it's targeted spring 2022. But you can today start reducing that footprint, and then in combination with the image builder, I think it's going to be a really good thing. You have any issues with customers wanting smaller disk space?
Yeah, definitely. But also just looking at the toolkit we had with WES 7, right? When Microsoft introduced Windows 10 IoT, I think this is the main thing that was missing. With going from the different version of Windows 7, you had WES with Windows 7 Pro for embedded system, Post-Ready 7, all these different versions, and then Windows 10 came after Windows 8, and you had just one product. The nice thing, of course, is the different price levels you have, so you can mitigate the pricing issue that might occur. But definitely the toolkit was missing. There was no availability to reduce the footprint or do high levels of customization. You did have the embedded key in Windows 10 as an option, so that's great. So I think with this new Edge device builder, we're getting closer to what Microsoft offered with WES 7, and it will definitely be a very popular product now.
I've got some people definitely interested in that because they definitely miss the tool, being able to customize the image. And I've played around with the tool in the preview, and it's actually really, really neat. It's really wizard driven, really simple compared to the WES 7 tool, which would probably took you a month or more to learn how to use it. The goal with this new tool was to not make it as complex as the WES 7, simplify it, make it wizard driven, make it a lot easier. So look forward to that tool. The next one is the unified write filter, which was another sort of hole or missing feature with the Windows 10 family, because everyone loved what they called the enhanced write filter with WES 7, another WES 7 feature everyone loved. And although it had a write filter in the Windows 10, it couldn't do all the things that the WES 7 one could. Well, they have fixed that now. And so you now have these 3 functions, these abilities that you can now do with the Windows 10 2021 product that you could not do with the 2019 product. So if you're in a situation, what I run into is the customer who builds a device that needs to be able to lose power and not have the disk get corrupted, be able to just turn the power back on. I've had companies in the gaming space that make little games, and at night, the person that runs all the games would just throw a power switch and just kill them all, right? And so they wanted in the morning when they turn the power back on for them to all just come back, and the write filter was the solution there. So you have customers that use the write filter for specific reasons?
Yeah, as you said, but for example, the game example, actually with a lot of or most of the industrial SSDs will have some kind of security mechanism, like additional capacitors or whatsoever to do that final push to make sure the data doesn't get corrupted. But I definitely see the wear leveling that this brings come in handy. For example, if you have a device that constantly writes in industrial automation, for example, or robotics, where the life cycle of the SSD is getting important, because nowadays everyone is going to SSD because of the speed and also the price decrease over the years. But still, if you're not buying the highest end SSDs, the number of writes or race cycles, there's still a limitation to that. So with this improved unified write filter, you can actually reduce numbers of write cycles and in a way extend the life cycle of your product or your solution. So definitely I see dedicated markets. I would say industrial automation would definitely benefit from this improved feature.
All right, let's we're gonna have to move on. I'm looking at the time. I want to save time for questions at the end, so let's jump through some of these others, and I might move a little quicker. So with Windows 11 IoT Enterprise, what's new is the fact that the release cadence is not twice a year; it's once a year. The lifecycle support is now a standard 36 months instead of like every build being a different length, which was extremely confusing for customers. Does this build have 18 months or 30 months? The Windows 11 builds once a year, 36 months. It does have a new GUI, new user experience, some new features with USB 4 and Wi-Fi 6E, and then the controversial TPM 2.0 and Secure Boot now required. So we'll jump into that as well. Kiosk mode. So the thing with this is that you do get access to Shell Launcher v2, the version 2, which is available on the Windows 10 products as well. And that allows you to use both a Win32 or a Universal Windows Platform application as the shell. So you can boot have the device boot right up to a Win32 app or the Windows 10 Universal app. You also have access to a single app kiosk where they also call it assigned access. You turn it on, and it just runs that single application. And what everyone wanted is the multi-app kiosk. And so just to point out that the multi-app kiosk, be able to be locked up, not locked into a single app, but being locked into a couple of apps, that is available in the Windows 10 2021 product, but it is not available currently in the Windows 11. But they do expect that it will be in the future, probably next year here shortly with the next update. So if you need multi-app kiosk, you have to use the Windows 10 one. And I'll jump ahead to the minimum requirements and let you jump in here. The TPM is kind of the big discussion point. Everyone not so happy that it's required, as well as the specs, doubling, from 2 gigs of RAM to 4 gigs, and the storage now up to 64 gigs. But it kind of comes with the territory of running a brand new Windows 11 operating system. So, what's your take on the requirements here?
Yeah, it's definitely a boost, right? And with smaller footprint devices, probably Windows 11 will be too much. But let's see, because it's just the first release, and it's also not the LTSC version.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to what comes in next 2 or 3 years. For now, yeah, definitely if your application can deal with the minimum requirements, do download it and test it and see if this is a migration you're working towards too, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting. It went from a single core processor to it's got to be 2 cores and 2 gigs of RAM to now 4 gigs and lots of storage. The question we get is, will the LTSC version still require the TPM? And we don't know the answer to that. I have a feeling that it probably will. I think by the time it comes out in 2 or 3 years, this won't be such a big deal. It'll probably be very common to use the TPM. The hardware will be much further along as well. So we'll see. It's obviously the goal is to make the device more secure, and that's what the TPM does. So I'm not receiving too much pushback from customers on this. In fact, I've been asked how much pushback are we receiving, and it's honestly not very much. So that's also because not many people are moving to Windows 11 yet. So we'll see where this goes. And then I just point out in the blue box, because what you will run into when you install this, when you start to play with it, is it will say this PC can't run Windows 11, but it won't tell you why. And so this is the magic command. When you're on that screen, you press Shift plus F10 and then go to that folder and view that error log, and it will tell you why your PC is not meeting the minimum specs. So let's jump ahead to the three-way comparison. So this is the slide that we worked together on, and because Microsoft didn't have something like this. So when we went through their material, we said, hey, where's the side-by-side comparison of the older 19, the brand new 2021, and then the brand new Windows 11? Because the question, probably the number one question we get today is, well, which one of these should I be using, or which one of these should I be moving or starting my project on? And so we wanted to highlight in bold kind of the main differences. The multi-app assigned access, not available in Windows 11, so you would stick to 2021. The reduced footprint is kind of there in 2021, but it'll get stronger as we move into next year, and it's also coming on Windows 11 along with the tool. The soft RealTime, which we didn't highlight, is available in 2021 and Windows 11. Which any of these stand out to you that I haven't touched base on?
Not necessarily stand out, because we do highlight that for most of our OEM customers, Windows 10 IoT Enterprise 2021 would be the one to focus on. One thing, common denominator, I would say, that I see customers requesting for Windows 11 is, why should I go to an older version of Windows rather than go for the newest one? And it's often driven by the misconception or not understanding that what features you get with IoT version, Windows 10 IoT version. I also see the same questions coming from market for customers that want to design in a Windows 10 Pro. for the same reason that they know Windows 10 Pro, but they're not familiar with Windows IoT and with all the benefits that comes with it. So definitely for the coming 2 to 3 years, my recommendation for most OEMs would be the Windows 10 IoT version and then the latest one. Maybe if a customer wants to use any of the features covered today that's on Windows 11 but not on Windows 10, yeah, that would be the only reason I would say to go for Windows 11 now.
Yeah. And I would say start testing. You can start testing the current version of Windows 11 and that with focus on maybe migrating to LTSC when it releases, when they release that version, because it is based on the same platform, right? So that's what I know a lot of my OEMs are doing now. They're like, well, I'm not gonna put Windows 11 in production, but I'm certainly going to start testing it now, waiting for the LTSC version. All right, let's jump into Server 2022, and we don't have a lot of time left for this, so we're going to fly through this. So for the roadmap, I didn't actually put up the server roadmap that I have, but just so you guys know, we have a full roadmap presentation that you can get from us at Arrow. Just let us know. It's out on our Arrow Microsoft website. You can go out there and download the roadmap, and it'll give you the full detailed roadmap. This just shows you the last 25 years that server has come along. And, again, the interesting thing with the IoT embedded channel is that starting with server 2008, it's still available. So half of this 25-year roadmap is still available to purchase in our IoT channel. But all the way back NT4, NT351, and my career has followed this entire roadmap. I was an MCSE on NT351 way back. So interesting to see how far it's come. They continue to build it, making it a stronger product. From the offering standpoint, there's a lot of words on this slide, but it's really about the additions on the right side. So you have your standard edition, your data center edition. And then here in the IoT channel, you also have access to the storage standard edition, the storage workgroup edition, as well as a telecommunications version, which is strictly for PBXs and automated telephone voice response type systems. So not a lot of OEMs in that space, but if you are, do know there's a special version of server that you can procure, but as well as a NAS appliance and then regular server and data center. Those are all available. The one that is missing, which I'm very glad it is missing, is Essentials, because everyone confused Essentials with the one that is in the regular channel called Essentials. So they removed Essentials. And let's talk about what's new, and we'll get back into the actual licensing around Essentials and Callus here in just a second, very quickly. And yeah, Che, we don't have a lot of time, so what we wanted, you and I, we went through the chart that Microsoft has on their website for Server 2022 that compares it with the older versions, and these were some of the highlighted things that are brand new that are not available in the older versions of Server. So a lot of this is security focused. I know technically almost the top row is primarily security. So not going to get into a ton of that, but obviously I know one of the questions I definitely wanted to discuss is the TPM, because that was important with Windows 11. With Server 2022, it supports TPM 2.0. It's required for certain features like BitLocker, drive encryption, but it's not required. So Windows 11 IoT Enterprise requires TPM. Server, it only requires it for certain features, but it is not required to actually use the product. So anything else you want to point out here before we keep moving?
No, I think that's what I see with every new release with Server, Windows Server, that they focus a lot, that Microsoft focuses a lot on security. Every time there's a long range of new security features that's added to the stack, and that's only good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Years and years and years of continuing to make it more secure. So from the licensing standpoint, the big thing here is that there was no price increase over the old version, so it's the same price. My understanding is in the regular channel, they did have a price increase. So again, you're always going to get the best pricing in the IoT channel. And then, as I stated, the Essentials version has been eliminated. The Essentials version, it didn't require CALs, but it also got confusing with the regular channel Essentials, which was capped at 25 users. The Essentials version in this channel was not capped at 25, but it did not require CALs. Well, Microsoft did release a CAL-less version now. So if you want to just be 100% compliant and not have to worry about CALs, there is a CAL-less version that is available now. It costs a little bit more, but it's kind of like buying the server but with some CALs. But in this case, you know that the license terms have removed any requirement for client access licenses, which is your licenses for the clients to access the server. And then pointing out a new virtual appliances and machine. I did just recently write a blog on this that is on our Aero Microsoft page as well. So if you want to learn more about the new option that allows you to sell this as a virtual appliance, no hardware required, which is perfect for ISVs. If you're an ISV and you have a solution and you're tired of dealing with hardware, you can now seal it up in a virtual machine and sell it using these parts here. Get with us for more info there. I'm going to keep moving here. From the basics of how server is licensed, nothing changed. So it's still licensed based on the physical cores with a minimum of 16 cores. And you always license all the cores with standard to get the rights to run 2 VMs. Data center is unlimited VMs. Nothing new here. Nothing new has changed here. All the same. Nothing changed with this new 2022 product. So it's kind of the point is to just point out nothing changed, still the same. And then a little comparison with the storage and the telecom there. So yeah, we'll start to wrap things up here with why IoT and getting started with us. So the main thing with Windows IoT is the fact that it's very fast to market. So if you have a Windows application or someone that writes Windows applications, .NET developer, you obviously can get this loaded very quickly. You can get it customized very easily and quickly. And obviously it's based on a very trusted and secure platform as well. Lots of tie-in with the cloud, with AI and analytics. Lots of our OEMs need to learn more about Azure and capturing the data on your appliances and learning what kind of services you can offer your customer base. We can obviously discuss that kind of stuff too. So built on a foundation of over 1 billion Windows devices, 30 years of building on the same platform. It's come a long ways. And then a quick word on my number one competitor, which is Windows Pro, right? So Windows 10 Pro, Windows 11 Pro, don't use it for an appliance. We run into this all the time where you buy a machine that may come preloaded with Windows 10 Pro, but looking at the left, you're going to have less control. When you can't control Windows Update, far less support, 18 to 30 months support, depending on the build you're on, less features. You're not going to get any of the features that we talked about today that comes with the 2021 LTSC product. You're going to pay more for it. You're going to deal with multiple keys. Obviously, the way to go with an appliance is the LTSC version, where you're going to get 10 years of support. You're going to get a long life cycle. You're going to get a single product key, right? Less expensive. It's licensed on the processor. So if you're interested in that, you've been running Pro today, and I hear it all the time. People will come to me, and it is they're sick of the Windows updates, right? So LTSC fixes that. Make sure and use LTSC. You get all of these lockdown features, which we've kind of touched based on a number of these today. Come back and look at these in the presentation. You get all of these with the LTSC and IoT versions. Make sure you visit our website. We've got the link here. We've got a brand new parts list with the Windows 11 parts, the Windows Server parts, the Windows 10 2021 parts. We've got a comparison chart on that parts list. We've got a COA, the Certificate of Authenticity, the sticker license comparison on that parts list. Go out there, hit the website, throw in your email address, download the parts list, get the new checklist, which walks you through everything you need to get started. And then we've also got licensing guides and frequently asked questions. It's all underneath the resources tab on our page. Again, the link is here at the bottom and in the middle. And then we're going to point out again, this is a two-part webinar series. Part 2 will be in January, and we will focus more on implementation and best practices. What do OEMs do when it comes to recovery media? What do they do when it comes to managing the Windows updates? What do you do, around applying the COA sticker and dealing with stickers or dealing with field upgrades? All of those type of things we're going to cover next month. So make sure you register for that. Join us next month where Chad and I will dig into those things. And then turn it back to Chris for, I believe, one final poll question.
All right, thank you, Ken. Yes, this is our final polling question. So here again, click next to the radio button that's appropriate for you, and then click the submit button. Our final question for you: do you ship systems with Windows Server today? And you can select all that apply: yes, regular server; yes, IoT server; or no. And we'll wait for you to go ahead and input your answers. And then we're going to move on to the Q&A. We're going to stay a couple of minutes over past the hour here to answer a few of your questions. So go ahead and submit them. Again, if we don't get to your question today, someone will be getting back to you after the program is over. So let's take a look now at our results. And it looks like about 11% said yes on a regular server, 22% said yes on an IoT server, and about 67% said no. So those are our final polling question for you. And Ken and Tze, what are your thoughts on that final poll?
Yeah, it makes sense. Obviously a lot fewer of our customers use the server platform. But again, if you are using regular server and you're putting an application on it, you should use the IoT version. And if you're not unsure of the license terms or you want to talk through that, get with us because it can save you a lot of money and give you a much longer life cycle, right? Not dealing with downgrade rights, that kind of stuff. So absolutely, let us know. We can help you with that. Let's go to the end. So, I'll let you take it away, Chris.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for a great presentation. We're now going to move on to the question and answer portion of our event. But first, as a reminder, please fill out the feedback form that will open up at the end of the show. Thank you in advance for filling out the feedback form. Your participation in this survey will allow us to better serve you on programs in the future. Again, we're moving on now to the question and answer portion of our event. If you'd like to ask a question, simply click on the Q&A icon or type your question into the text box located to the right of the presentation window. Type your question in, click the submit button. We'll get to as many here as we can. If we don't get to your question today, someone will get back to you after the program is over. So, gentlemen, we've got quite a few questions coming in, and we'll take a look here and see what we've got. Our first one says, I notice Windows 11 IoT Enterprise is not an LTSC edition, and why is that?
Yeah, it's Microsoft typically, when they first release a product, and of course Windows 11 kind of snuck up on everyone. So I think it was honestly a surprise to the IoT division, as it was to a lot of us, right? So it kind of came out of nowhere. And so obviously to the LTSC version to get 10 years of support and have the additional features, that's going to take some additional time. But Microsoft, they still wanted to release the an IoT version of Windows 11, so they did that. It's just not the LTSC. But as I stated earlier, you can start testing on this non-LTSC version in preparation to move to an LTSC version when they release it.
All right.
Yeah, I think the added benefit there is as well that probably there will be some updates and some bugs that they'll fix in the meantime before they release a long-term servicing channel version. Because at the end, OEMs will need something that's reliable that they can design in for 10 years and not worry about it in the middle of it.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Tze. Our next question here, why is LTSC IoT Enterprise 2021 based on Windows 10 and not Windows 11?
Yeah, it was obviously. Yeah, sorry, Jay.
Go ahead.
They release an LTSC version every 3 years, and so the timing, they had been working on the Windows 10 LTSC version for 3 years, and so and not knowing that there was going to be a Windows 11, and then all of a sudden, right as Windows 10 LTSC 2021 was about to be released, they released Windows 11, which added the confusion. So just know if you need LTSC today, you need to use the Windows 10 one.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to another question here for you. Our next one said, I hope you cover how we can download and qualify these new OSs.
I'll let you take that one, Jay.
All right. Actually, there's a Microsoft portal called Software Ordering Center. You just need to access that portal. If you don't have credentials or you don't know how to access that portal, reach out to us on this email alias. Either Ken or myself will get back to you how to get access. Once you're on that portal, with the latest products, actually you don't even need to search for them. The moment you log in and you scroll down a little bit, you'll find the latest products already. And you just click what you need, download it to your device, and you can start testing. If you need embedded keys, when you're testing Windows 10 or Windows 11 even, we can also help get you embedded keys that you can use for many deployments for your solution.
All right, thank you, Tze. Another question has come in asking, I have customers that claim compatibility issues with software and LTSC. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, I saw that question there. That's a good one. That's a good question. This comes up every now and then, and it's kind of an interesting one because the LTSC version is based on Windows 10 Enterprise. It's full-blown Windows 10 Enterprise. What we typically do is I typically have my customers, test it on Windows 10 Enterprise and see if it works there, or test it on the SAC version and see if you have any issues. It doesn't come up very often for me, but it does come up, and the thing to know is the LTSC does strip out some stuff, the consumer retail stuff, Xbox, the store, weather, news. So there's some things removed, and if an application happened to try to use something like that, it might have some problems, or it might need the store and the store's not there. But we typically would work through that, and we have access to Microsoft support teams to help our customers work through those issues. So any issues like that, get with us and we help you through them.
All right, thank you, Ken. We're going to try and sneak a few more questions in here. Our next one, we're very interested in Azure IoT for Edge and also eFlow. I don't know that there's necessarily a question there. Let me see. Can you talk a little bit more about those, I guess?
No, absolutely, yeah. In our last webinar, we covered that a little bit, and we just chose on this one to not talk about eFlow or Edge, but absolutely, those are available. It's available, the eFlow and Azure IoT for Edge is a separate product that you buy as a subscription through the Azure service. And obviously, it allows you to run Linux platforms on Windows. And so if you have a Linux application or a Linux workload, this gives you the ability to run that in a container on the Windows OS, and that is available for the 2021 and the Windows 11. So again, another awesome feature that is available, and we can help you guys through that as well.
Even 2019 version, right? It's supported.
Yeah. Oh yeah, even 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And we've got another one here that's asking, says Windows 10 LTSB 2016 was hard to control with respect to stopping process. The self-healing feature often restarts processes that we need stopped. Windows patches can also restart things we turned off. Is there any relief in 2021 LTSC?
Yeah, that's a direct tie-in to the soft real-time, giving you the ability to lock those services that you need to constantly be running and not be interfered with or not be restarted. Absolutely. And we certainly hear the issue of having services that you've disabled, having them restarted. Those are also some issues that we've worked through with many customers. So I don't know, have you any issues, any situations, Tze, that you've run into with that?
No, not so much actually. So no,
yeah, I haven't seen it come up too much.
No comments on that.
It does come up, not that often, and we typically work through them. And I say that because one of the services people always want to disable is the Windows Update service. Shocker, right? So with the LTSC, you have full control over that, and we do have customers that disable it, and of course it'll restart itself, and there's some ways to prevent that from happening. But there are other services I've had customers say that I've disabled and that they keep restarting. But certainly soft real-time addresses the majority of that.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to sneak the last two in here for you. The first one, will TMP 2.0 be required in all IoT Windows 11? And it says that limits hardware, requires hardware change in a lot of cases.
Yes, yeah. So today it is required, yeah. Yeah, it's required, and yes, it does limit the hardware aspect. And we'll see if that changes for the LTSC version. I don't know if it will. We'll see.
And for now, that's one of the reasons to stick to Windows 10 IoT Enterprise.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And our final question, is secure boot active mandatory?
It is for Windows 11, yes. For Windows 11 IoT Enterprise, it is mandatory.
All right, well, that looks like all the time that we have for questions for today. Once again, if we did not get to your question, again, someone will be getting back to you after the program is over. I'd like to thank Ken and Tze for a great presentation and Q&A session. And for more information related to today's webinar, please visit any of the resource links available in the green folder icon at the bottom of your screen. And within the next 24 hours, you will receive a personalized follow-up email with details and a link to today's presentation on demand. Once again, we'd like to thank you for attending today's webinar, What's New? Microsoft Windows for IoT Roadmap and Products, brought to you by Tech Online, Microsoft, and Arrow. This webinar is copyright 2021 by AspenCore. The presentation materials are owned by or copyright by Tech Online, Microsoft, and Arrow, and the individual speakers are solely responsible for their content and opinions. On behalf of our guests, Microsoft and Arrow, I'm Tze Chiew. Once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a great day.